Konnichiwa, Nihon Cricket Pod do Yokoso. Hello and welcome to a much delayed episode of the Japan Cricket Podcast. I'm your host Alan Kerr and I'm acutely aware that it's been around 6 weeks since the last pod, which, given these are supposed to come out twice a month, is a bit of a slip from my end. You can probably tell from my croaky voice that the season has taken its toll, and as the leaves are now virtually off the trees, I have just 2 more episodes of the season to go for you. This one, which is the first, takes you back to those glorious days in October, as it was recorded during the men's East Asia Qualifier in the stands at the SICG during Japan's final match, as it so happens. Anyone who has attended an international fixture in Japan over the last 7 years will probably have met my guest today. Todd Luckhurst has been a regular feature and played a massive role in making the SICG a place fit to host international cricket. The second episode will be out in a couple of weeks and will be a full season roundup of domestic cricket, as well as the Women's East Asia Cup, which took place in late October down in Kaizuka in Osaka. I will be joined by Dougal Bedingfield, Reo Sakurano Thomas and Ardeen Uluhode for a chat that hopefully gives you all a few laughs, as well as plenty to reflect on after such a packed season. For now though, here's Todd.
Konnichiwa, Nihon Cricket Pod do Yokoso. This podcast is coming live from the SICG. We've got Indonesia and Japan playing what will be Japan's final game of the Men's East Asia Pacific Qualifier. Japan, if they win this match, will be through to the regional final, which is awesome, and I'll do a separate podcast on that at some point. But with me, in fact, by the time this goes out, I would have already done the separate podcast on that. So this is a great start to the show. Really well planned, this one. I'm joined by the one and only Todd Luckhurst today, who most people will hopefully have seen around the grounds at tournament time. He's been coming to Japan for, I'm going to say 7 years, maybe even 8, doing our turf wickets, a turf consultant, an expert in his field, and the man trying to get Yoshi Uehara up to speed. So that's where we'll start, Todd. How is it working with our Yoshi?
It's good fun working with Yoshi. He's improving and coming a long way, but it's always a good laugh and really good fun working with Yoshi.
So, mate, you've been coming here a long time. Let's start with the most recent one. It's been a pretty soggy couple of weeks. You got here before the 3-match bilateral series against Indonesia. The ball just coming our way, and that's a 4. And yeah, it's been pretty challenging with the weather this time.
Yeah, so when I arrived, we had the JCL T20 final, and it was 30 degrees. It was warm. It was nice. And then the week later, it was 15 degrees. A few days later, I think it was 3 or 4 days later, and it started raining, and it really hadn't stopped raining all tournament leading up and during the tournament. But it's been a credit to everyone at the JCA, and especially the ground staff. They've done a phenomenal job really getting the ground up to scratch and trying to get rid of as much water as we can, which is a bit of a issue here, as we see Kataoka hit a nice 4. It's a bit of an issue with water, but it's been fantastic and had a great time.
Yeah, so this ground it's come a long way since you first came, right? Back in the day, I guess you must have started working on the old square, right?
Yes, I did. So when I first came, it was the ground was a lot different to what it was now. We had the old square, which I think was a 3-wicket table, where the cricket nets was the old softball field, I believe, and where the SICG 2 ground was the jungle. So there wasn't much grass on the facility, and the wicket was interesting, but we made do. And I mean, the facility now is it's world class and amazing job. Fantastic job by everyone at the JCA and Sano City in getting this fantastic facility up.
So you're not just a groundsman, of course, Toddy. You've done all sorts of roles with us, mainly just through being a good bloke, and we like having you around. So you've been an analyst, you've driven the bus, you've done a few different things. You've commentated on the JCL T20 final. Talk us through sort of how your role with Japan Cricket came about, and what is it that keeps you coming back?
Yeah, so it really came about. I just got a phone call one day back in 2015 saying, do you want to go to Japan and make a turf wicket for a cricket tournament? And I was like, cricket in Japan? Like, I'd heard of associate cricket, but not in Japan. I heard more in Europe. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'll take the phone call, and had a phone call with Dougal Bedingfield, and he said, can you come over in a couple, or next week or the week after? I believe there was some issue with the groundsman at the time. I think he might have left, and tournament was coming up and had no curator. So I kind of, jumped on the plane and came over and came to Sano, which was interesting the first time I came, this little sleepy city of Sano, but it's a great place. And so that's where it all started, just funny phone call one day, and it's turned into this amazing career with me with Japan cricket. As Alan said, I've done everything from analyst to I've driven the bus in Australia for the team, and keep coming back to be the groundsman. But I keep coming back because I feel that I'm a part of it, and it's been a tremendous experience for me, and I like to give back to Japan cricket. They've given me such a great opportunity to come over here and produce these turf wickets for the ICC tournaments.
So let's go chronologically then. That first tournament, was that 2016?
I think it was 2015. So I think it was might have been women. No, was it the first East Asia Cup with Hong Kong Dragons?
It would have been the East Asia Series. And do we have a Commonwealth 11 playing in that?
No, it was...
Or was it just Hong Kong Dragons, Japan? We usually have a third team.
I think it was Hong Kong Dragons came over for a tour.
Yeah.
And it might have been the first time they came over for a tour. As we see...
That's a wicket down. I think that was Loki Yamamoto? Or was it Taniyama? Yeah, Yamamoto Lake's gone out there. He's been smashing it. I haven't really been keeping track of the score, but can you see what the scoreboard says, Toddy?
The score says Japan 26 for 1 off, I'd say, 3 overs.
Solid. So yeah, it would have been the men's East Asia Series when Hong Kong came over and we played a few games against the Dragons. So that's 2015. And then you were back in 2016 for the men's East Asia Cup.
Yeah, so we had the men's East Asia Cup in 2016 between Japan, Hong Kong Dragons and Korea, where Japan went down in the final. Very tight game at the end. I remember it was a good series, that one actually. It was a lot of good cricket being played, and the final was a nail-biting end, and Korea just got over the line in a bit of a thrilling finish. I think they had some really good batsmen back then. They just were whacking the ball around. It was and that was a fun tournament too.
And then 2017, so it would have been relatively soon afterwards, because that tournament was the first weekend in November. I remember it was really late. We had great weather for it. But then 2017, we went to Bendigo, and that's when you drove the bus.
Yes, 2017, the men's tournament was in Bendigo in Victoria in Australia, and that's where I picked up the bus, and I think we played a game at a college in two colleges, Xavier College, and Xavier College had a tearaway fast bowler which they didn't play against Japan because they worried he was too quick. And then we played another game at Caulfield Grammar in the eastern suburbs of Melbourne, which was that was another nice, beautiful venue, that one too. So yeah, those two games, and then we went up to, and then I met the team in Bendigo for a couple of nights and stayed there and watched a couple of games, which I think we lost. As we see Taniyama hit the ball through cover for 2.
Yeah, it's a bit wet out there. The guys are slipping as they run, but we're getting the game on. That's what matters. Yeah, I reckon that was the trip that you kind of really became part of the family again, because you'd done 2 visits by that point, but then being part of the group in and overseas, you're kind of welcomed into the family a bit more, and suddenly the boys are warming to you, and you're really part of the team, right?
Yeah, definitely. I believe that. Yeah, that was really was always accepted, but I think I became more of the team and part of the JCL family, as you would say, the JCA family, and really got involved and kind of all kicked off from there, and that's the partnership's still going today.
So then I reckon it was 2018 when we were in Hong Kong for the East Asia Cup, and you filled in as analyst. You just decided to fly over to watch the boys and ended up recording all the data. Is that right?
Yeah, so we had the men's tournament here in at Sano, and the week before, or right in the weekend before, was the Hong Kong tournament, and flew to Sano, then flew to Hong Kong, and we had the men's tournament, which Japan won. It was a great tournament, and flew over, and as analysts, it was very hot, and we had the super typhoon to deal with. Flights got delayed, and it was a big effort. Then we worried that I wasn't going to get back in time for the tournament the following week, but it all worked out in the end.
And then, of course, we come to your last visit, which was a while ago now. There's a long time between visits due to the pandemic, but you were here for the, famous, infamous, whichever way you want to look at it, under-19s qualifier. And I guess by that stage, we had the new ground. And was that your first time working on these decks?
Yeah, so that was the first time that the ground was built, I believe, in 2018, I think, maybe, yep. And 2019 was the under-19 World Cup qualifier, which Japan qualified for the World Cup, and that was the first time we used the new wicket table, and it was a was a really great tournament. The wickets played really well. And it was just fantastic to come to this facility that all of a sudden was just amazing from when I'd visited before, and I couldn't believe the transformation of the facility.
Yeah, and then of course you watched Japan qualify for the Under-19 World Cup, which still, brings back shivers. Couldn't quite push to get into South Africa for that trip, but it was a step too far. But then you're here again for this one. What have been your highlights over these 7 years? What really stands out?
There's been a few. I like to look back at the happy and the funny moments. We've had some funny moments, especially with Yoshi on the wickets. And I remember one. I think it was a women's tournament here, and they had. I don't know what it was, and there was like face painting, and there was kids' toys, and there was a magician or something, and a clown. And Yoshi drives past the crowd with some kind of kid's hat on or something, and had balloons on his little rider mower, and that was a very funny time. But tournaments are always great fun. Every tournament we come here, I have a ball, and it takes a bit of time to get here and spend a bit of time in Sano with people that have become great friends of mine, and I really enjoy it and really look forward to the future.
Yeah, and of course we say you've got around the teams, you've got to know the players a little bit. There's a few traditions that have been going on with the team. Do you want to talk us through what you've been getting involved with there?
Oh yes, so one of my favourite players who I've got a close bond with is Makoto Taniyama. Tani came to Melbourne to play cricket, played for Dougal's club, Mount Waverley, and actually got Tani to come and play a couple T20s for my club. And there's a bit of a tradition where it didn't happen today because I was running out of time and didn't get to go and see him before he batted, but he would come over and give me his bat, and I would kiss it before he went out to bat. And he's made some runs doing it, but I haven't done it since I've been here. Maybe that's why he hasn't been made 2 runs with the bat, but he's going all right here at the moment. I think he's on 15, so he's going well with the bat here at the moment. But that's one of the traditions we have, is Taniyama always comes over and I'll give his bat a nice kiss.
Yeah, and that leads me on to my final one, really. You're not just doing the work in Japan and with the team, but you've actually hosted a few guys. You had a few guys come over to Melbourne and work with. Yeah,
so we've had Yoshi come over in 2016 in the winter, so he came over for a month and stayed with me and gave him some training in the turf field. We've had Ebasui come over and play cricket at my cricket club, and we've had Ken Okoshi came over and played cricket at my cricket club, and they were fantastic, and they really had a good time, and all their boys back home at Newport Digman Cricket Club really got around them, and they enjoyed their time there, and it was just great to have the boys and host them, and I felt like it's really a good extension of our relationship, is trying to host these boys, and they're always good fun, and they always like to have a laugh, and their English, it really is good for them too, because they really learn English. Their English is unbelievable when they come back, I find. Even Taniyama, going to Mount Waverley, his English is better. We've had Miauchi go to Mount Waverley, his English is fantastic. And I think they grow a lot when they come to Australia, and they come back and they're different people, and I think it's really mature. It really matures and brings them on in their life, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, there's so much. You're a great example of someone who's kept coming back. We've had a lot of volunteers who might come over and just do sort of one visit, but as we said, we reckon, 6, 7, 8. I've lost track of. You reckon you're at 7, and then you throw in the overseas trips, and you've been around and really been part of the furniture, and it's great that people can get involved in that way. It's just a good example of how someone can contribute to Japan cricket, because a lot of people say to us, how can I get involved, what can I do? And it's like, well, what's the skill set? And if you have one that fits, there's lots of skill sets out there that we can use and we can need, but also just hosting players and helping them get into a club in Australia and just making sure they're looked after. These are great things that, as you say, has a big impact on people's lives, and we're very grateful, Toddy. And I'm not going to drag this episode out for too long, because I have no idea if this thing's even recording properly. But before we go, I'm going to try and get this thing out of my pocket. I would like to present you with the very last that we have, Japan Under-19 World Cup shirt. It's 4XL, so I reckon you should squeeze into it. But that's a gift from us to you to say thanks for all your hard work and all your efforts.
Thanks, Alan. I really appreciate it. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it to the World Cup, just with work. I was trying to get over there to watch, but just my work back home, and had some back issues, so I unfortunately wasn't able to fly over, but I'm spewing that I missed the tournament. But I really appreciate the gift, and I'll might get it framed and put it up at home on the wall. So appreciate it, and thanks very much, and thanks for everything. It's always a great time here, and it's a lot of work getting people like me over here. It's not easy, and it's not easy for the staff either. Like, everyone's got to do a bit to organise everything, and I appreciate everything you do for me, and let's keep the relationship going, and hopefully we have a tournament here maybe next year or the year after.
Yeah, we'll get you back in the commentary box as well, mate. And just to finish, I guess I should say congratulations, because you did get engaged just before you came over here, so congratulations on that, and good luck on your next part of the journey.
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for the well wishes, and let's hope Japan Cricket keep moving forward and have a successful next stage of the tournament.
Beautiful. Thanks, buddy.
That was the fabulous Todd Luckhurst. Thanks again to Todd for joining me on the pod, and thanks to everyone for listening all the way through. I know the sound quality on this episode hasn't been the best. This is the first episode of the podcast I've recorded entirely on my phone and hasn't been through the editing suite. So sound quality not quite up to its usual standards, but it's a short episode, so I'm sure you've survived. The next episode will go through the decks and will hopefully come out shiny and beautiful sounding for you all. That'll be out in a couple of weeks. But in the meantime, let's go with some of their stuff.